blowing the playoffs.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Puck and Leafs podcast. I'm Joe Choffs with the boys, Coach Frank and Bobby Bottles. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Man, just trying to find some energy after 2 nights of WrestleMania and 2 nights of NYHL 6-year-old hockey at its finest. So I got some left. Let's do this.
Nothing takes the energy and the life out of you like 6-year-old hockey. What a draining experience, isn't it?
Totally draining.
And Bobby, how are you doing over there?
Just end of March Madness. It's a sad day.
I got to say, March Madness is not what it used to be for me. Like, I remember when we were in university and we'd be watching games, all kinds, and like, it just doesn't have the same appeal. Maybe because I'm older and I don't have as much time as I used to. And, I have to pick my spots of which sports I'm going to follow closely. March Madness just does not make the cut for me right now. But I get the allure of it. I get why people love it. And, it's just not the same.
They ruined it when they went to the one game format where they wouldn't. You remember they used to jump back and forth between games, and now it's like they do the one game. But the ladies really stepped up and brought the drama this year. Have you guys been tracking that?
I have a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
And your boy Dave Portnoy is the one who stirred it all up, actually.
He's taken a stand, and he's got his feet dug in the sand, like going hard on this. People are like freaking out about this.
That women's final had more viewers than any NHL Stanley Cup final game since 1995. What does that tell you about hockey in the United States?
That it's working in Arizona.
Jeez.
So the New Jersey Devils were the highest rated Stanley Cup game in the last.
I believe that was the Devils and Red Wings, that series. Yes, when the Devils swept them. Good call, Bob.
Devils. Wow.
He's a hockey historian, ladies and gentlemen. He knows it all. All right, let's get to talking some Leafs. The Leafs just finished their game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 4-2 win. And I got to say, when I saw that Jet Greaves, or was it Graves? I don't even know. When I saw this kid making his NHL debut, the only thought that went into my head was stellar performance. And what do you have? He 46 save performance. It breaks the Columbus franchise record. And why wouldn't it against the Leafs? But luckily for them, the Maple Leafs still come out with the win. It's one of those games where you just don't want anyone to get hurt. Mitch, it looked really bad there when I forget which Columbus player stepped on his leg. Could have been much worse. Yeah, and he came out unscathed, thankfully. So, what do you take from a game like that? Is there something you're just looking at in particular, or you just want to get the 2 points and move on?
I think you said it, Joe. It's getting out healthy, right? I think there's a little bit of excitement going on when they kind of announced that they thought Ryan O'Reilly was going to play, so we got a somewhat of a look at where he was going to start from the lines at practice. But I think this is one of those games where, you want to see, this is more of a bottom six type of game where you probably going to see more of the, the Laffertys, the Kampfs, the Aston Reese. And hey, listen, Aston Reese has got a bit of a bump lately in his ice time. And I just saw a stat. I think this is hilarious that since March 17th, Connor McDavid has 5 goals. So does Zach Aston Reese. So I give him a little bit of,
same player, basically.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid, Zach Aston Reese.
Czar, as they call him.
Czar.
No, but Joe, that's a game where I don't think the top 6 really played a lot. So you're hoping that your bottom 6 chipped in, and they did, right? You had 2 goals from Aston Reese. I believe 1 from Kerfoot on a rebound. It's just one of those games where it's like, it's Columbus on a Tuesday night in Toronto, right? It's like it just has that feel, and that's what it was. You take the 2 points. And I think this is more of a game for Joe Wall. I'm sure we're going to talk about him in a bit, but another solid performance by a guy who's coming up in tough circumstances, and he's putting up solid numbers like he did in the AHL, and good on him. So,
speaking of Joe Wall, Matt Murray had another unfortunate injury this past week. It's pretty much a concussion, even though Sheldon Keefe, when asked, would not admit to that. He just said it was a head injury, and what other head injury could it be? So this is the third time Matt Murray's missing time. Does it, in a way, help the Leafs in the fact that now there's no questions about who's going to start game one? And my second question to that is, do you think that Leaf Nation actually feels a little bit more comfortable with Joe Wall in the net right now as opposed to Matt Murray? Because Matt Murray had a really good spell at the beginning of the year. And then he's been fighting the injuries. He hasn't been able to find it. Since he's come back from his second injury, hadn't been that great. Numbers weren't that great. And even Jack Campbell numbers were better in this last stretch of games. So what do you think of those few things there? I know I was a little long-winded with those questions, but
Joe, it's going to be recency bias. At the end of the day, Wall's getting wins. Murray kind of isn't, right? And people will look at winning records and such. I think sometimes, obviously, it's very easy to overreact. But I was listening to something interesting they were saying about Matt Murray. But when the Leafs play a very structured game, when they have the game in hand, they don't let a lot of high danger chances. Matt Murray tends to play, gives you that better goaltending, that expected goaltending. But when the team's a cluster, and they're letting a lot of shots on, he doesn't seem to come up with those big saves, where Samsonov has kind of been the opposite, where he has. So if you're looking for Murray to bail you out, he's made a couple of 10 bellers this year. It's like, holy shit, like that one against Florida where he had Kachuk, but he scored, kind of the puck went over the line. He made two great saves there, right? Like that could have been a turning point of the game. But then you're saying like other chances where there's ones going in, like how did those go in? Those can't go in. And I haven't seen that from Wall, right? So if you're going to talk about recency bias, yeah, man, I think I'd rather have Wall in the net than Murray right now.
And you think it helps the Leafs that now this erases any questions about who's starting game one?
I think that's been the case for the last 3 weeks, even though there was maybe a bit of a conversation. But, Joe, I've always been the type of a coach where, you try to tell the team that you got to play the same way regardless of who's behind you. But human error would suggest you look over your shoulder and like, oh, shit, he's in net. You know what I mean? And sometimes you do play different depending on who's in net. I think it's a relief that Samsonov is playing. So if they can get that out of the way, which it seems like they have, they'll structure their way around that. And, listen, Samsonov's, there's been rare times where you've seen really bad nights from Samsonov. There have been, but they've been few and far. And he's bounced back quite well. So, give the guy credit.
But you're not really, this is not a position of strength for the Leafs. I don't know if you want to lose depth there because you're one injury away from Joe Wall being your playoff goalie. I don't know how comfortable you guys would feel.
Tampa's one injury away from Brian Elliott being their playoff goalie. Like every team in the league is in that situation. So
yeah, but wouldn't
if you get to your third goalie, I think the Leafs have one of the best third goalies in the league, to be honest.
Yeah, because but that's saying their second one is gone too, right? So their first and second one, you're not even saying if Vasilevsky, you go to Campbell. It's like if Vasilevsky and Campbell aren't there, then you go to, I don't even know who their third string. I don't even think Tampa knows who their third string goalie is because they're not.
You know what?
But what I'm saying is like I understand like it's almost like you don't want to have two quarterbacks, so it's almost better off that one quarterback. You have a starting quarterback and a backup, and the lines are a little bit blurred here because you feel like Matt Murray could probably take the net from Samsonov if he gets hot, but I think you want that depth though, especially in this city here.
But like Frank said, it's been pretty clear who the number one is this year. So
Yep. But I'd still rather have Murray as backing him up. I would like that kind of security blanket,
especially with his playoff pedigree, I guess.
Yeah.
And experience. Can't put a price on experience. That's true.
Here's the issue that you're going to have with Samsonov, or with any team for that matter. It doesn't matter how bad Vasilevsky is or was playing, because the guy's actually figured it out now, of course, right before this season ends. It doesn't matter who Tampa was going to play. You're kind of going into it as the second best goalie anyways. So he's under the gun knowing that Tampa has a huge edge in goaltending, right? So, like, what does really Samsonov have to do? He has to give them average goaltending, at least, to give them a chance to win. So is there pressure? Yeah, but maybe it's not as much as you think. It's his countryman, so I think he's got to. I'm sure he's going to be up to play against Vasilevsky, Russian goalie versus Russian goalie. You'd think that'd be a good duel, right? He just can't revert back to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the stereotype he had coming into the season. He folded in big situations with Washington, and he had to give the net, to someone else last year. Hence why they let him go. So we really don't know, Joe, what we're going to get from Samsonov because the postseason is completely different.
I'm going to push back on the sentiment that they just got to give you average goaltending. I disagree with that. He's got to be really good. The Leafs have had 8 opportunities to close out a series, and they haven't been able to do it once. And every time their goalie's been second best in those games. So, at some point, your goalie has to steal you a game and pick your team up when they don't have it. At some point, when a team is on the mat, they're going to give you your best effort. Your goalie has to just put his foot on their throat like Vasilevsky has done in how many closeout games for the Lightning over the last 3 years. Samsonov has got to be good. If he's just average, like Jack Campbell was last year, it may come down to a coin flip, but they still probably lose the series in that situation. So
I have a word, but I want to save it for the fill in the blanks. I don't know if we're doing that today, but I have a word that I think will timely. I think you need timely goaltending because that's what this team has missed.
Like when you're in overtime and your team's out shooting a team 14-2, and you need a save when it's coming back the other way. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And they have not gotten one of those saves. That's for sure.
You know what, Joe? Looking back at last year's playoffs, and I was looking that up when Rob and I were chatting. Andre Vasilevsky had an .897 save percentage last year. So did Jack Campbell, and the Leafs lost in 7.
Yeah. And Frank, what happened after Game 6, second intermission? The Lightning were down in Game 6 going into the third period. What happened to Vasilevsky after that?
He shut it all down.
He shut it all down, and that's all that really matters. You could be his save percentage could be .850 during that series. Doesn't matter because when the chips were down, that guy knows what to do and he knows how to play. And we could talk about disallowed goals and all that stuff. It makes me sick that play. But
5-on-3.
Yeah, exactly.
Those magical words.
Don't remind us.
Speaking of the Lightning, the Leafs' magic number to clinch home ice is now, I believe, 4. So any combination of Leafs points and Tampa losing points would, if that equals up to 4, that would actually equate to them tying in points. I'm not sure who has the advantage, though, in a tiebreak situation. So 5 points, though, would make it impossible for the Lightning to catch them.
I think if the magic number is 4, then they calculate that into the, once you get that 4th, you're good. So I think there's got to be some sort of tiebreaker to the Leafs.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys now. I'm gonna name the remaining schedule for the Leafs, and I want you to tell me how many games Joseph Woll's gonna play. Leafs are in Boston on Thursday, then they're at home to Montreal. In Florida the following Monday, back-to-back with Tampa and on Tuesday, and then they finish off against the Rangers on the Thursday. How many games does Joseph Woll play?
Woll's getting at least 2 of those. He's getting Montreal Saturday, and he's definitely getting the Lightning on the second half of the back-to-back. They're not playing Samsonov in that game.
That's it. But those are the only 2 he's getting. I think he only plays 4. We talked about something off camera. We did talk about you guys were talking about Tavares playing with Nylander. Yeah. And you guys talked about trying something different.
Yeah.
I am a big proponent of doing that at game 50 of the regular season. This is the time where you've got to have everything ironed out. And I don't want my goalie sitting. I don't want my guy sitting for too long. You want to give him a couple of kind of maintenance days, but I want everything clicking going into game 1. I don't want to have game 1 as let's kind of start ramping up now. I want to hit the ground running. And
I agree with you. But that's why I want them to switch it up. Because the Nylander Tavares combo has not worked at 5-on-5.
This is not the time to do it. The experimenting time is done. Now it's now you've got to have everything set.
So because there's 5 games left, you can't switch it up now. Even though it's not working, you can't switch it up now. That's it. Done.
You had 70 games
and now it's not working, so you have to switch it. I still would prefer Nylander with Matthews and Marner with Tavares. Tavares is so much better when he has Marner on his wing. Just it's not even close.
Let's go to the coach here. Coach, what do you like? So you're coaching the Leafs. What's your strategy here?
I gotta go at least to start with what's been working. I don't think I want to try something new starting game 1. Like what's that gonna do, right?
Okay, so what? It wouldn't be new because they've tried it already. They've tried both. So what works?
The X factor here is Ryan O'Reilly. Listen, they traded for this guy to be the third line center, not second line left wing, right? So what is he going to look like when he's back? Well, we saw it today. It looked like he was playing on a line with Tavares and Marner during practice. So if that's where he's going to play on Thursday, right? That's where he's going to be on Thursday. And Nylander didn't skate today. So it's hard to say where he's going to be. But if he was skating with Tavares and Marner, there's a good chance Nylander is going to be back with Matthews and Bunting on the first line.
I think Bunting is not I think Yarncroke is going to be playing on Matthews' wing. I think Matthews likes him with them.
It's possible, yeah. But like what I'm trying to say is, let's go. Okay, fine. Let's go Matthews, Yarncroke, and Nylander, which is like kind of that Swedish, which is fine. But again, Joel, then we go back to that conversation. Are you going to get enough offense from your third line? Your third line then becomes Achari in the middle, Kerfoot, and Lafferty. Is that going to get you goals? I don't know, man. Or sorry, Bunting, Achari, and whoever. Like
that's a pretty good line, man.
So that's personally, I would not have O'Reilly on that second line, but thinking about his hand and face-offs and stuff, I don't know if he plays center to start, man. To me, I would rather go 3 deep down the middle and go with pairs. I'd go Matthews and Yarncroke. I'd go Tavares and Marner. Tavares and Nylander, and I actually go O'Reilly and Marner.
Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
I don't care I don't think second, third line. I don't care. You call it whatever you want. They're like 1A, 1B, 1C.
But just like the goal, you guys are talking about, like you've solidified the goaltending. You want to solidify everything else. Like these next 6 games is like solidifying.
I agree with you, Bob. But the injury to O'Reilly really messed up that ability to solidify.
Huge.
Because they never got the opportunity to try him at the third line center role. So now they're going to try that these 6 games left, or whenever the heck he gets back in the lineup. So it's still a bit of an experimentation this late in the year.
It didn't hurt them on the standings, but it hurt them from a logistics point of view, where just you lost time of seeing these kind of. They're in a tough spot now because, like I said, I think you want to have 2 or 3 games where it's like, this is our lineup, we're gonna play it properly, and then see, so that game 1 you're just automatically ready to go.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. I was trying to be fun with this and stuff, but you call me crazy, but I think it's going to be tough to take Zach Aston-Reese out of the lineup. I don't think Matthew Nyes is getting in game 1. I don't know.
He's going to have to show an awful lot in the 3 games that he gets.
Maybe 2. Is it 3? I don't know.
Well, their semifinal game in the Frozen Four is this Thursday, coincidentally enough, at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. If they win that, then the finals on Saturday, which would mean the soonest he can be in the lineup is that game against Florida on the Tuesday, I believe. Monday. There you go. So, he'd have 3 games at that point to show.
But you're looking at this to say he's really got to beat out a guy like Zach Aston-Reese for a lineup spot. And sure enough, he's been great the last few games. So it's like, I don't know. I know people are maybe taking too much stock in this, but give me a guy who's 6'3", 215 power forward. Hell yeah, get him in the lineup. Let's see what he can do. Why not? Right? What? And this is nothing against Zach Aston-Reese. Really nothing against him. He plays 8 minutes a night. He barely gets on the penalty kill. Doesn't play power play. What are you losing? You want offense in the bottom 6? Sorry, in the bottom 6? Give it a shot, man.
What you're losing is one of the hottest goal scorers in the league, not named Connor McDavid.
You're basically losing Connor
You're
McDavid.
basically losing Connor McDavid.
Do you worry like I get, Nyes is a rookie. Are you worried, coach, at all, like D zone kind of thing, like that he's not acclimated to the D zone? I don't think they care about, losing out on Zach Austin Reese on the offensive side. I think a lot of coaches, and this, and sometimes they put way too much stock into this on how the guy is on the defensive side, and that, so would that worry you at all?
I'd insulate him, Rob. I'd actually insulate him with, a guy like O'Reilly, guy who can help out, and probably a defensive forward that to play with him. You know what I mean? It's like he's going to be on the left wing, or let's play right, left wing. So yeah, Rob, it's always an issue. But like, does Nylander give you good defense? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, but
you know what I mean.
But you can explain.
You're 100% right, Rob. But like, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that on my fourth line to get a goal, a guy who's got some scoring touch, right? So,
all right. Before we get out of here, Frankie, you have a little fill in the blank game you want to play. I'm excited for this. So why don't you kick it off and give it to us, and we'll try to find a word for it, and you can chime in as well.
Okay, that's fair. You know what? We're on goaltending right now. By the way, I'm just going to answer my own question. I think Wall plays Thursday against the Bruins and Samsonov Saturday against the Canadiens.
Interesting.
I think they ride a little bit of wave with Wall, but we'll see. Only because I don't think they want to see Boston give Boston Samsonov either, just in case they get through. But that's just my coach's hat on, see. All right, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to say a phrase, or I'm going to give you a specific sentence. Either fill it in with a word or a reason. All right. The Leafs will beat Tampa Bay if the goaltending is.
I've already said my word, clutch or timely, whatever you want to do. One of those two. Just give a save when you need it. Get a save when you need it.
Can I just agree with Bobby on this one? Because that's a good one. Clutch. It's got to be clutch. Yeah, I like that word.
Clutch. I'm going with average because I'm just going by, what I think they can provide in terms of goaltending. But then on the flip side, they will lose to Tampa Bay if the goaltending is
average.
Is Leafian.
Ooh. Ooh. All right.
Pulling out the old Leaf Urban Dictionary word there.
Urban. Oh, easy now. Let's keep it on the rails here. All right. Second one. The Leafs will beat Tampa if Ryan O'Reilly is playing blank in the lineup.
I don't think it matters so much where he's playing in the lineup. I think he was brought in to be a leader and to provide them with great. He's known as a playoff performer. He's got to perform. So a couple of clutch goals or a Ryan O'Reilly game where we're like, wow, he took over the game. He was the best player on the ice. That's how they do it, and that's what they need from him. That's why they brought him in.
Can you repeat that, Frank?
Yep. The Leafs will beat Tampa if Ryan O'Reilly is playing blank in the lineup.
Is playing in multiple situations, killing penalties, taking draws, playing in different areas, being a utility, a nice Swiss Army knife. I think he's got to do a lot to help this team.
All right.
Frankie, Bobby was good in school. He killed it on those fill in the blank questions because he's pretty good at multiple choice questions, no chance. But those fill in the blank questions with the word bank on the top, he killed those.
Yes. A good thing they weren't like A is B and C or C, D, E or all of the above. All right, last one. I left a good one. I know this is close to Joe's heart. The Leafs will beat Tampa if they can get the power play to do blank.
Score 5-on-4 because they're not going to get a 5-on-3. Just judging from how the season's gone.
I tell you, he's so good at these.
This is what I'm made for. I'll go 15% if it's 15% or higher.
All right,
15% is horrible. They need 25%.
25,
They need
huh?
30%. You get 3 power plays in a playoff game. You need to score on one of those, which is actually 33.33%. But that's what they need. They need their power play to score in a game deciding, in a series deciding game as well, because their power play has been absolute dog, you know what, in those types of games. In all 8 or 9 or whatever, how many opportunities they've had to close out a series previous to this one. So
Yeah.
I think they can get away with 15. If they go 1 for 6, I think they'll be fine.
And I
Jeez.
still hate it, Frankie. I hate their power play so much. It is
I
the
know, that's why I
worst
thought it.
second-ranked power play
Save it.
ever.
I know, save it,
I
save
can't
it. 'Cause
stand
when we
it.
go in depth, I know. I'm going to break my own rules here and give you 2 answers. Answer number 1, a shooting threat from the point. I know they probably won't have it, but if you're going to have Riley throwing wristers from the point, that's not going to happen. You can't. They know Riley's not going to shoot. They're not going to cover him. They're going to go to Nylander and Matthews. No bueno. Second thing, and I see hints of it. Keith is starting to do it, and I hope he does it again. They will beat Tampa with their power play if Matthews and or Marner also play on the second unit. So we talked about this last time. They're using a bit of the Washington model now. They bring the top 5 out for the first minute. After that, you actually see 3 guys changing. So figure Tavares, Nylander, and Riley change. Giordano, O'Reilly, and Bunting come on. And Matthews and Marner actually stay on for almost the 2 minutes. So you're not changing all 5. You're changing, 3 of the 5. And it's actually been, I noticed a bit of a difference, and I'm glad. I think Sheldon Keefe listens to our podcast. I'm just saying, we do tag him here and there. But so I think in a short answer, Matthews and Marner have to play duration of that power play. So
I love it. Does Washington just leaves Ovechkin on, right? Like they only
do Ovechkin and it used to be Carlson, but they used to keep 2 guys on, whether it was Ovechkin, Carlson, Ovechkin, Backstrom, but it's been Ovechkin, Carlson because before Sandin, they didn't have a second man unit.
I love it. I never understood why you had to change the power play after 40 seconds. You're standing around most of the time.
They don't really keep Ovechkin on for the 2 minutes. He just stays on. He says, "I'm just gonna stay on here." Like,
why would you take him off?
Yeah,
no, I agree.
My whole thing is, Joe, if you're not going to play Matthews in a penalty killing role, where's his other ice time going to come from? Keep him on.
I agree.
So that's my answer.
I love it. Is that analytic? If that's analytics, I'm going to throw up because
that's just common fucking sense.
Right? Like it makes so much. That's one thing, guys, I've never understood after a power play. It's like you got to get off after a minute. Why? Like you're standing around for most of it,
Yeah.
So,
all right, boys, let's get out of here. And we're going to have our series preview, another one. It feels like it's Groundhog Day. We do it every year, and it always works out not the way we want it to. And here we go again.
It leads us perfectly into the postmortems. It's like
postmortem. Yeah, we should start planning the postmortem now.
Oh my God.
Don't you love the positivity on this episode?
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for all the comments, all the clicks, all the likes.
We're as positive as Vince McMahon's new mustache.
Oh, boy. We'll have to throw a picture of that so everybody knows what we're talking about. It's awful. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. We really appreciate the feedback. And let's go Leafs.